Good evening, everybody. We're just going to get started. Just a few preliminary words. Welcome everybody to Intercom. Great to see such a large group here. There are seats around the place, so try and move up, get to know the people beside you, get cozy. As I say, a really big crowd here. But I'm not going to say too much. Really, just as I say, welcome you to Intercom. Delighted to be holding the first Dublin SaaS Meetup. It doesn't seem that long ago since I met Alex downstairs for coffee, I think, and he had this mad idea for a SaaS publication, and here we are, probably less than 6 months later, having a meetup in Dublin. So delighted to see that, and delighted to see someone sort of covering what's such a vibrant area of the software industry. So without any further ado, I'll pass you over to Alex for the evening. Cheers.
Hello. Yeah, that works. Okay. Yeah, just some quick words from me. Just, wow. Basically, couldn't be more pleased with the interest in this event and just showing, how many people within the SaaS startup community in Dublin there are. So that's really good to see. So I'm Alex. Founded a SaaS blog, as it were, for SaaS startups, and yeah, pleased to be hosting the first Dublin SaaS Meetup tonight, in conjunction with Tribal VC, who've been, massive supporter of this, and Tribal VC, invest in early B2B SaaS companies, and Victoria and Connor have been, great help on this. So that's it from me for now. I'll speak again later, but I want to pass it over to Niamh Bushnell, who'll say a few words. Here's Niamh.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you, Alex. This way. Even this side, okay. Wow, and I'm really hoarse. I've just been at a MasterCard, 2-day MasterCard conference in Berlin, talking too much, obviously. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm just going to say a very quick few words, and then I actually have to list out a couple of companies, but thank you, Alex, for doing this. And I think the SaaS community in Dublin is so powerful, and there's a lot of early stage scaling companies in this group, which really excites me. So we've got a lot of early stage startups, and then we have a really great group of scaling companies who have product, who have revenue, who have funding, who have customers. And some of you guys are here tonight. And I see Dublin as being known for scaling SaaS companies, and I think it's a reputation that's there for us to be filled. And as Alex said to me the first time we met, there's no SaaS conference in Europe. There's 2 in the States, I think, annually. And, so another thing that we can do here that we're talking about and that Alex is really driving forward is the idea of a European SaaS conference, the first ever to happen here in Dublin in September. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that from Alex. We are also launching, some of you guys probably were at the launch event of this, a SaaS bootcamp in conjunction with News Talk. So News Talk are paying for a really great SaaS bootcamp to be set up in Dublin. We're starting on the 9th of December. And actually, I'm going to announce the companies right now that are going to participate. So the idea was to, again, get together companies who are in that early stages of scaling, who really have the ability and the ambition and the desire to go global, to be very big SaaS-based companies. So we put together an event. We've got many of the multinationals involved. Qualtrics are here, Dropbox, loads of really great companies are going to be involved as mentors. We're also bringing in a bunch of trainers from Europe and from the States. We pushed it out to a whole load of people saying, okay, if you have these 4 things, customers, funding, revenue, and I've forgotten what the 4th thing is, then you can apply for this. Thank you. Product. Yes, you got to have a product. You got to have a live product. Number 1, live product. Then you can apply for this SaaS bootcamp. And we got over 50 responses, 50 applications. It's the NDRC who are project managing it. So Gary and his team have done an amazing job of getting it this far. And so we wanted to take 8 companies on, but we got so many great quality companies applying that we're taking on 11. And I'm going to announce them now. Let's see. Okay. Connor, you're right. I need a new phone. Okay, here we go. Okay. So the companies for the bootcamp, and by the way, you know, the idea behind this bootcamp is to collect amazing content that we will then, because of the money we're getting from News Talk, basically we can cover everything that happens. We're going to film everything, we're going to write up everything. There's going to be amazing content that's reusable by the whole community coming out of this SaaS bootcamp. So it's really the start of a journey that everybody can be involved in and benefit from. But the companies who are going to be involved in the first SaaS bootcamp ever in Dublin are EdgeScan, Bizimply, LearnUpon, Work Compass, Logo Grab, Legal Shine, Pulsate, Initiify, NewsWhip, Excelco, and Vidyad. So those companies, congratulations, and for the rest of you, this is going to be a great...
Thank you, Niamh. And yeah, without further ado, on to our first talk. And it's Connor Keppel, CMO at Forest Salon Software. Welcome, Connor.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, how are you? You can clap if you want, go ahead. So I'll give you the nod, okay? Hey, everybody, my name is Connor, and as Alex said, I'm the CMO at a company called Forest Salon Software. So Forest is a SaaS company that basically provides appointment management and CRM software for hair and beauty salons. We're HQ here in Dublin, and we're in Ireland, the UK, the US, and Finland, and we have about 80 people working for us at the moment. So I'm here on Twitter, but you can move on, Alex. That's just a slide. So today what I want to talk about is really using content to help you amplify differentiation within a market. And what I mean by that is, how do you use content to stand out from your competitors to generate leads? That's basically what I'm going to talk about today. So before I get stuck in, I'm going to introduce you to somebody here called Mary. If you want to go back a slide, Alex. So Mary is a salon owner. She has a salon in London. She basically hates technology. Maybe hatred is a strong word, but it's a necessary evil for her. She's on Facebook. She goes on Facebook at night. And her personal page is, her business is also a personal page because she didn't set it up right at the start. And like 60% of the hair and beauty industry, Mary is dyslexic. So the other challenge here is shareable content, okay? So Mary doesn't share content for two reasons. Don't worry, I'm getting there. Mary doesn't share content for two reasons. Number one, all her peers in terms of people on social are friends or clients of the salon. So it's not a peer-to-peer type network. And secondly, Mary operates within a vertical. So, you know, all her peers are people that she would share that content with, are competition, are people in her village, in her town, and she's not going to share great content that she thinks is going to help her salon to grow. It's not that type of business. She wants to put it in her top drawer and make sure that the salon down the road doesn't get it because it gives her a competitive advantage. So just to, you're probably wondering at this point, why in the name of God would Forest as a company then employ content as one of their main lead generation strategies? And I'm going to go through that today and just give a few pointers around exactly why we do it. So to recap, you can imagine, I'm saying that our market is largely people who are not comfortable with technology. It's made up entirely of hyper-local businesses. And there are people that are not going to share our content with other people. So why would we do it? So we do use content very successfully, and I'm just going to give you a little sample of the types of posts we do and why we do them and what they've produced for us. So things we would do are, for instance, the top legal 7 ways a salon owner can pay as little tax as possible. We would do things like tips for producing and promoting amazing salon before and after photos. Things like expose the dark truth of salon marketplaces and salon directories. Other things then we do would be maybe on the more fun side, something like the perfect salon Spotify playlist. So we basically use content to, no, it's not a video, it's just, yeah, you can go on, you can move on to the next slide. We use content to generate demand by differentiation. So ultimately for me, when you boil down all marketing activity in companies like these, when it comes to lead generation, you're doing one of two things. You're either capitalizing upon demand that already exists within a market, or you're trying to generate it from standstill. And for us, the generating from standstill is, well, you know what? I've been using a pen and paper for the last 20 years. Why in the name of God would I use software now? So we use it to differentiate ourselves, okay? And it's for thought leadership. So the way we do it, let's move on again, actually. But the reason that we do it is, believe it or not, salon software is a pretty hyper-competitive space. So if you set up a salon tonight in Dublin, no joke, there's actually easily like 50 providers that you could go to, that I could name off the top of my head right now, that you could go to for salon software, okay? And there's even more in the US. So what typically happens in our market, and what we found is, it's whoever shouts the loudest typically wins. So there's very little differentiation within the market, and that's what content has allowed us to do. So what this picture is, it's basically the arms race, is how do you prevent yourself from getting into an arms race? Spending more in pay-per-click, spending more to try and get listed on Capterra, having the bigger stand at the trade show, spending more on different things, because you're trying to get, you're trying to squeeze that extra 10%, or you're fighting in the same space as all the other companies. So what I want to talk about today is just a few little techniques that you can use using content to help you differentiate you from the competition and stand out in the market. So the first one I want to talk about is, that's worked very successfully for us, is listening. So you can flick on again. So what I mean by listening is finding out what people are talking about in the market that's not necessarily related to your product. So we use a tool called Word Tracker. And Word Tracker basically, it's pretty much like if you've used Google AdWords, they have a keyword planner, but Word Tracker is a slightly more sophisticated version. So you type in terms like, for us it might be salon marketing, for you it might be best practice in terms of accountancy, whatever it is, and it will give you a search volume of those terms, and it will give you other related terms that you should probably blog about because they have a search volume. But what it does for us is it tells us what are people talking about in the market and what are people looking for in terms of thought leadership. So we can find out things like, managing staff commission structures, that kind of stuff are things that are challenging salon owners. But it's not directly related to our product, but it allows us to create thought leadership, and then we're seen as the people in that industry who are given best practice advice. Another thing we do then is basically here, let's go back there, sorry Alex, is using Slack. So in terms of listening as well, is listening to competition and curation. So I don't know how many of you here use Slack. I presume everyone has at least heard of Slack, or a lot of people have heard of Slack. We use it basically to listen to the tweets of the competition. So we integrate it, and we have a Slack channel called Competitor Tweets. And we also have a second channel that we call Thought Leadership. So it's not so much applicable to us, but I can imagine some of you guys are in hyper competitive markets when it comes to in terms of content, and it's hard to be heard. So one trick that you could use is to integrate your favorite accounts. So every tweet that your favorite thought leadership accounts in your industry are putting out goes into a Slack channel. And you literally then, at the end of every week, pick 5 and send that to your database and say, here are the 5 best posts that happened in our industry this week. Okay, so that's like something you can do through Slack and by listening to other people out there, and send it to the competition. So I'd send it, to your client base. So another thing then we do in terms of the, do you want me to actually just hit that? Yeah, might just, no offense, Alex, sorry. So something else that we do is we use it for search engine optimization. So what we've tried to do is when we find the topics that people are talking about, and we see that they're talking about things like staff commission or it's marketing or whatever it is within your industry, we're basically using plugins on the likes of WordPress, such as Yoast, and taking those key terms and we're plugging it into our URL, into our page title, and Yoast is just one of the plugins we use, but it basically is like a checklist. So use the key term here, here, and here, how many times is in your content, and it gives you like a green light once you kind of SEO the post. And that allows us to rank very, very highly for certain terms. So if we know we're ranking really well for certain elements of thought leadership and we're ranking highly, they're coming into quality content, we're able to build a subscriber list over time based upon thought leadership. These are the topics that they're talking about, and Forest very quickly then becomes associated with those topics because they're getting hit with them all the time once they subscribe. So that's just, once you get your key terms, do that. It's really effective. So distribution is one other thing that's worked really, really well for us. I think a lot of content strategies fall down on distribution. So what's happening is a lot of people are writing some really, really great content. They're putting it up on Twitter, they're putting it up on Facebook, they're putting it up on LinkedIn or whatever social platforms are working. And then they kind of just go, oh, yeah, then, that was all right. And the post just stops. They don't keep repurposing that content. So one of the most effective things from a lead gen point of view that we've done is just quickly testing on Facebook with a few different titles, how many click-throughs that post gets, what kind of time they're spending on that post, and what kind of leads it generates. And if it's quite successful, we'll keep rotating that. So we'll target in different markets. We'll put it out in different markets in terms of Facebook and target different people, and we'll keep rotating that content every few weeks. Just keep getting it out there all the time. And what that does is it means that you're really capitalizing on all the content that you're writing, and it doesn't just become a short-term game. So it's worked really well for us. Just walking over content. We have a few, I think everybody has, and I don't know, maybe it's the same for Intercom, John, but there's a few posts that are kind of like evergreen posts, that the gifts that keep on giving, we call them. So basically these are posts that even when you don't maybe promote them that much, every single month they're getting a hell of a lot of traffic and they're generating a hell of a lot of leads. So one thing we've learned is if we have something coming up, like whether it be a new element to a product or whether it be a new event, if you have content that's getting a lot of traffic every single month, change the call to action at the bottom and try and like maybe repurpose the content slightly to fit that particular call to action. So if you're already getting traffic to that post, make the most of it and just change the call to action on it. So I just robbed this from HubSpot as well. People say know your audience, and the other thing I would say to you is know your traffic. This is actually only half of the entire chart, so I'll send it to you, Alex, maybe you can circulate it after. But basically, there's 4 elements to it. There's the objective of the content type, and then underneath that you have content format and content distribution. So basically what this is, almost like a sheet that you should print off and put it in front of you before you write any post. And it's like, what is the objective of it and what is the content type? So say if we're running low on leads a month and we're like, okay, it's great writing this like thought leadership type content and we're trying to build traffic over time. One thing we can do is like, we need to get leads in this week. What the hell are we going to do? So for us, it might be like, let's pick a short-term traffic type post. That's what you want. You want a quick spike in short-term traffic and pick some like format of how you're going to do it. So if you pick short-term traffic, for instance, and how to, it might be something like for us, how to get more male clients into your salon using the Rugby World Cup. That's an example of something short-term that it's not evergreen and it won't last that long, but it gets leads in straight away. Then on the opposite side, you have long-term traffic. So you might want to write something that builds traffic slower over time. And again, it might be a thought leadership or it might be a how-to post. So one that worked really well for us was, the Salon Owner's Bible to an extraordinarily successful salon loyalty program. So that was one long-term traffic that gets traffic month on month on month. But the point of this is you need to set out an objective to each post, check your content type, and then work from there. So have an objective to every single post. Audience quality for us might be a particular type of sector, or it might be, a hair salon versus beauty salon or whatever. So if you're trying to appeal to a certain type of audience. Free stuff, and I'm probably on time, running over time, am I? Just about. Okay, so I'm just going to finish on this free stuff. I know people say free stuff works, and it absolutely does, but it's worked really, really well for us. And I think Intercom, in terms of ebooks and stuff, has probably worked very well for as well. But things that we've done are like, the Salon Owner's Ultimate Guide to Facebook, ebooks that we're just distributing hundreds of every single month, because people love free stuff that's quality and free stuff that actually generates thought leadership. One other thing we did was, we started putting out posts where, you take a salon owner's, like I said, there's a high level of, or a lot of them are dyslexic in the industry. So we started putting posts together where we would take some really, really seminal books that they all wanted to read and just kind of put them into short form and take tips from it. So what we read, so you don't have to, for instance, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, or, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or whatever the book is, and say, hey guys, here it is, broken down into quick 10 tips that you can apply to your everyday life. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. And I just want to say again, to reiterate the message, if you listen, you distribute your content cleverly, and you really work hard in your thought leadership, it really stops you from getting into that arms race. It helps you differentiate yourself from the crowd, and like I said, it helps you to be heard and be known for something else other than shouting louder. So thanks for listening, guys. Thank you.
We've got time for 2 questions for Connor. If anyone has a question, who's going to... We do?
Hi, great presentation. You went through a lot of content is king stuff. So what kind of technologies are you using? Are you for CMS, for example, or what have you found? You've obviously done your research and...
From an SEO point of view, we use WordPress for the blog. It's great from an SEO point of view. Obviously, you have to be kind of careful where you host it and don't let it near anything that's of any value just from a security point of view, but from an SEO point of view, it's absolutely amazing. And that's the platform we use. And we use Yoast as the plugin, like I said.
You haven't used something like HubSpot or Intercom?
No, not yet. I was talking to John. I know John. Don't worry. I was talking to him 2 weeks ago on that. But yeah, we're that's what we use the most. We use that, and we use like Word Tracker, like I'm saying, to listen, and we use a few different tools. But we're kind of a little more manual. Sure. We just use WordPress and throw it up that way.
And one other quick question is fascinating statistic that people in beauty industry 60% are dyslexic. Mm-hmm. I never knew that. How did you discover that, or is that just? It's
just from research that we did. So I mean, it's commonly known as well. So believe it or not, even in the old days, a lot of people got into the industry because like blackboards are the worst thing for anybody who's dyslexic. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of the salon owners themselves told me in the old days they came out and it was like, I didn't do well in school, and hair or beauty was the option. So that's why a lot of people went into it that way. Yeah. That's why we have to be very careful about our content formats. So there is something called kinesthetic design, which is very good for people who have dyslexia. So things like slide shares work unbelievably well for us. Just imagery with one quick line under it. A lot of the social stuff we do has to be very visual and videos and that type of content. So it forces us into producing types of content just from that point of view. So
great, thanks. Cheers.
You kind of touched on it there at the end, but I'm just wondering, have you tried video much? We're in a similar space in fitness, and I'm really thinking of getting behind video. So I'm just wondering if you tried it and how did it go?
We have, yeah. Credit where credit is due. Chris here writes a lot of our content, so we're lucky to have somebody who's amazing at video on our team. We use video a lot, so what we would do is, being honest, because we're in a vertical, we can kind of take other things from other industries. So, you know, the Ask Gary V show, the Ask Gary Vaynerchuk, we took that and called it the Ask Forrest show. So they send in questions and ask us like stuff about how to run their salon. So we'll shoot a video, wrap it up, and upload it natively onto Facebook, probably within an hour, and at a pretty high level of production, because that's the platform. It sounds crazy, and we're business to business, but Facebook just happens to be our platform because of the demographic. We use video then in other ways. We just run series of bringing people in, the Forest Hot Seat. So we bring in successful salon owners and what they've done to maybe open a second salon or a chain of salons. We've done so much stuff in video. We love using video, and we try to make it as casual as possible. So we've even done other little things like, we have a great relationship with our clients, but some of them will send us stuff like, you know, hey, I'm after getting this qualification, or we opened a second salon, and it's like, would you do a blog on it? And it's kind of like, well, like, you know, that's not really the kind of content we do. So we do something called the #Forest Shoutout as well. So when they send us press releases and stuff, we'll actually sit down once a month and we give them all a shout out on Facebook on native video and sit down and do that stuff too. So we even tried crazy stuff that didn't work, like on Vine. You know, every time a client signed up with this, we'd send them a bespoke Vine video through Twitter, if they were on Twitter, and say, hey, listen, thank you so much for choosing us over the competition, blah, blah, blah. So we've tried a load of stuff. So we use video a lot, but it works best for us probably natively on Facebook, pretty much.
Okay, can everyone say thank you to Connor there?